They buried you, didn't they? Tossed you into the pit, shoveling dirt over your body with hands that reeked of betrayal, whispering eulogies laced with mockery, convinced that silence would swallow you whole. They stacked the odds against you, built walls high enough to blot out the sun, chains tight enough to strangle the breath from your lungs. They carved your epitaph before you had even exhaled your final word, certain, so certain, that the earth would hold you, keep you, reduce you to nothing but a cautionary tale of failure. But here's the thing about the ones who get buried alive. We don't rot, we don't fade. We become something else entirely. Darkness became your cocoon. Isolation became your forge. Every grain of dirt pressing down on you was a whisper, a lesson, a vow. The weight of it all should have crushed you, but instead, it remade you. Every breath stolen from your lungs, every ounce of hope drained from your veins. It didn't weaken you, it sharpened you. You laid there in the cold, in the black, in the silence, and you learned something they never could. They thought burial meant the end. But for you, it was the beginning. You clawed through the suffocating void, fingers raw, muscles screaming, your own heartbeat thundering like a war drum. Each splintered nail, each fractured bone, was a tally mark of your resilience. Every ounce of agony became fuel. They thought they'd erased you from the equation, wiped you from existence. But as you felt the first wisp of air brush against your skin, as your body broke through the grave they'd left you in, you understood the truth. You weren't just alive, you were reborn. The world above had moved on, unaware, uninterested. Your name had become a footnote in the mouths of those who once feared you. They drank, they laughed, they celebrated their false victory, thinking they had sealed your fate. But the grave they dug for you was never yours alone. You rise, dirt falling from your skin like dead memories, eyes burning with a light that has nothing to do with salvation. They wanted you gone, wiped clean, replaced. But now, standing on the threshold of vengeance, you decide who stays in the grave. You walk, not as the person they once knew, but as something beyond their worst nightmares. The air is different now, heavier with the weight of your return. Every step echoes with the ghosts of your suffering. Every breath is a reminder of what was taken. But vengeance is not just about retribution. It's about balance. And you? You're the hand that will tip the scales. You don't rush. No. The game has only just begun. You move like a shadow creeping through the cracks of their illusions, a phantom lingering at the edge of their laughter. They don't see you yet. They don't even suspect. But soon, oh very soon they will. One by one they will feel it. The shift in the air, the weight of unseen eyes, the creeping sense of something lurking just beyond reach. The ones who stood over your grave, who threw the dirt with certainty, will wake in the middle of the night, heart pounding, skin clammy, a primal fear gnawing at their insides. They don't know why. They can't explain it. But something isn't right. They thought they understood how the world worked. That power was permanent, that the weak stayed weak, that graves never spit back what they swallowed. But they forgot the oldest lesson of all. The dead never rest when justice is left undone. And so, the clock begins to tick. The world tilts in your favor. Their comforts, their security, their confidence, it will all unravel, thread by thread. You will be the whisper behind them, the shadow at their door, the storm in their skies. You can already see the fear creeping in, the slight tremor in their hands when they sign their names, the hesitation before they turn off the lights. They're starting to sense it, though they deny it. The paranoia takes root, deep and insidious, wrapping around their minds like vines in an abandoned house. They flinch at shadows, see ghosts in empty hallways, feel eyes in the places they once called safe. The world they built on your absence is crumbling. The grave they buried you in is a hole that can still take them all. And you're the one holding the shovel now. The whispers start. Rumors of someone who shouldn't be here, a presence that shouldn't exist. They hear your name in places where no one dares speak it. They brush it off, at first. Just old stories, just coincidences. But coincidences don't leave footprints in the places they swore were empty. Coincidences don't send messages written in things only you would know. Coincidences don't breathe down their necks in the dead of night. Some will beg, some will run, some will deny, insist it's all in their heads. They feel it before they see it. The shift in the air, the weight of something unseen pressing against their fragile reality. Sleep evades them now. They toss and turn, drenched in sweat, staring into the darkness where they swear something waits. It's a slow unraveling, one they never expected, one they never prepared for. Panic is a quiet visitor at first, a fleeting thought, a strange coincidence, a misplaced object, a door left open that should have been locked. They dismiss it, laugh it off, tell themselves it's just paranoia. But paranoia has a way of sinking in, digging claws into the mind and refusing to let go. They buried you, and they believed the earth had taken you for good. But the grave they built was never yours alone. And now, as they wake to a world suddenly unsteady, they begin to understand. Your return is not a possibility. It is an inevitability. Each passing day chips away at their composure. Their hands tremble when they sign their names. Their eyes dart to the corners of rooms, and their thoughts are no longer their own. Memories they thought long dead begin to claw their way back, gnawing at their sanity. The past, once locked away, seeps through the cracks of their carefully curated lives. It stains them, taints them, reminds them of the sins they buried beneath layers of lies and arrogance. The weight of their misdeeds grows unbearable. Their guilt turns to suspicion of each other, of themselves. They whisper among themselves, trying to rationalize the irrational, searching for answers where none exist. But you are not here for explanations. You are here for reckoning. The first one breaks in the quiet hours before dawn. You watch from the shadows as they crumble, face pale, fingers twitching, lips mouthing silent prayers to gods who never answered you. Their fear is intoxicating, a symphony played in hushed gasps and frantic heartbeats. They don't realize yet that this is only the beginning. The cracks spread. The others feel it too. Their once unshakable confidence erodes under the weight of unseen eyes, unheard footsteps, unspoken threats. They wake to find messages written in places they swore were untouched, objects moved from their rightful places, whispers curling through the air like ghostly fingers. Their world becomes a labyrinth of dread, every shadow a reminder of what they tried to erase. And then, one by one, they begin to disappear. Not all at once. That would be too merciful. No, their descent into the abyss is measured, calculated. Some flee, convinced that distance will save them. They pack their bags in the dead of night, their hands shaking as they drive past the boundaries of their once safe world. But you are not bound by distance. Their fear travels with them, an invisible passenger whispering in their ears, reminding them that there is nowhere left to run. Others try to fight back. They hire security, lock their doors, arm themselves with whatever means they believe will keep the inevitable at bay. But walls are meaningless when the real battle is within. They look in the mirror and see something hollow staring back at them. They hear their own voices tremble when they speak. They catch glimpses of you where you are not, and yet you are everywhere. And then there are those who fall into silence. The weight of their crimes presses too heavily upon them. They stop speaking, stop answering calls, stop leaving their homes. They sit in the dark, waiting for a fate they cannot escape, whispering your name in hushed, broken voices. You do not need to touch them. Their own minds are the noose tightening around their throats. Their own guilt is the blade carving their downfall. All you had to do was remind them of what they buried. But your work is not done. Not yet. There are still some who dare to believe they can outlast you, that they can find a way to erase you once more. They scramble for solutions, seeking allies who no longer wish to be part of their crumbling empire. They knock on doors that will never open for them again. The power they once wielded turns to ash in their hands. The final stage begins. They are out of options. Their last remaining hope is denial. If they can pretend long enough, maybe it will all go away. Maybe they can silence the voices, ignore the signs, brush aside the dread that coils around their chests. But then they hear it, the sound that turns their blood to ice, a knock at the door, software, unassuming, but deafening in its certainty. You don't need to force your way in. You've already been inside their heads for far too long. The moment they open the door, the last of their delusions shatter. And standing there, in the place where nightmares take shape, is the one truth they refuse to face. You. The door creaks open, and there they stand, hollowed by fear, stripped of every last illusion of control. Their skin is pale, their breaths shallow, their eyes darting, searching for some escape, some loophole in fate. But there is none, not anymore. Their arrogance has long since crumbled. Their defenses, mental, physical, spiritual, are gone. All that remains is the unbearable weight of realization. They tried to erase you. They tried to build a world without you in it. But you were never truly gone. You were growing, waiting, becoming something far greater than they ever imagined. And now, here you stand, staring into their abyss, watching as they unravel completely. The silence stretches between you. There is no need for words. Every answer they seek is carved into the dread lining their very bones. Their pulse hammers against their fragile ribs, a frantic rhythm of regret. Their lips part, perhaps to beg, perhaps to justify, but no sound escapes. They know it would be useless. You tilt your head, watching, absorbing. Every twitch of their trembling hands, every flicker of panic in their gaze, it all feeds something deep inside you, something that has waited far too long for this moment. They are not the same people they were when they buried you. No, those versions of them died the moment they put you in the ground. What remains are husks, remnants of power that once stood tall and untouchable, but are now nothing more than prey waiting for the inevitable. You step forward, and they flinch. A pathetic, involuntary reaction. You don't need to touch them. The weight of your presence alone is suffocating. They are drowning in it, gasping, clawing at something invisible, something far too strong for them to overcome. This is what they feared most. Not death, not punishment, but the knowledge that they never really won. That every move they made to erase you only carved your existence deeper into the fabric of reality. They didn't bury you, they planted you. And now, they stand before the consequence of their greatest mistake. The choices stretch before you. You could end it here, in an instant. One final blow, one swift reckoning. But that would be too easy, too kind. No. True justice isn't in the act. It's in the suffering that lingers, the torment that festers, the knowledge that there is no undoing what they have done. And so, you choose something far worse than revenge. You leave them with themselves. You turn away, stepping back into the night, vanishing as effortlessly as you returned. But your absence is not relief, it is a curse. Because now, every shadow belongs to you. Every whisper, every creak of the floor, every flickering light, every heartbeat out of place. It is all you. They will never be free. Not from their sins, not from their guilt, and certainly not from you. For the rest of their hollow, fading lives, they will carry this weight, shackled to the grave they once dug for you. And now, as you disappear into the darkness, leaving them to the nightmare of their own making, one final thought lingers in their minds, consuming them whole. Perhaps they were the ones buried all along. The weight of paranoia becomes their shackles. Days turn into nights, where sleep is a forgotten luxury, replaced by the ceaseless echo of their own heartbeat drumming against their ribs. Their world, once a throne of power and manipulation, now crumbles beneath the weight of invisible chains. Every creaking door, every shifting shadow reminds them of the force they tried to extinguish, the force that now governs their every breath. Their once powerful voices are now whispers of fear, hushed confessions to themselves, attempting to rationalize the irreversible. Their own minds turn against them. The whispers in the dark, the glint of moving figures in the periphery of their vision. It's all you. Whether you are truly there or not, no longer matters. The terror is real enough. They question their reality. They question their sanity. But there are no answers. Only the long, relentless pull of dread that burrows into their skulls like a parasite. They are trapped within the very nightmare they orchestrated. The people who once followed them, who once feared and revered them, now turn away in disgust. Their allies abandon them. Power slips through their fingers like grains of sand, and no matter how desperately they try to grasp it, it is gone. The world sees them for what they truly are: frauds, cowards, remnants of a failed scheme that only cemented your name in legend. You have become something far greater than they ever imagined. A force of reckoning that doesn't need to lift a finger to bring them to their knees. And when the inevitable end finally arrives, when their bodies have withered under the weight of years spent running from a ghost that was never truly gone, they will realize one final, harrowing truth. They never left the grave they buried you in. They were the ones trapped there all along, clawing at the walls, gasping for air, waiting for a savior who never came, waiting for mercy that was never granted. And in their last breath, As darkness finally consumes them, they will whisper the only words left in their fractured minds. We were already dead.